Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to 13 things about the USA I just can't get used to, and I've done a reaction, it was a few weeks ago, but it was probably posted like a week and a half ago, but I recorded loads of videos in advance from when I went away, and it was 13 things she can't live without since she's moved to the US, but this is the opposite. This is the stuff that she can't get used to, and yeah, I'm gonna be interested in seeing, because with these videos it always gets more dislikes and stuff because people, I mean, maybe it's going to be some things that are just obvious. It's probably going to be things like, I don't know, maybe the patriotism, stuff like that, I assume, especially if she went to a college in the USA. In the US, I feel like it'll be that sort of stuff, and it's stuff that people from the US will be like, well, this is just what is part and parcel of living here. But I'm just interested in seeing, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's just jump into this and see some of these things. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some more of my reactions that I can't post to YouTube. But yeah, let's just jump into this.
Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on and off since 2016. Since August 13th, 2016 to be precise, which means that this year marks my 5-year anniversary of living in the US.
For someone who's lived in the US for, at this point, it was, when was this video made? So 2016. So let's just say for 6 years from when this video was posted, she sounds, does she sound somewhat American? Maybe she learned American English in Germany or something, but to me, I can obviously hear the accent, but she sounds quite American to me. I don't know, maybe people from the US will be like, what the hell are you talking about? But
and for that occasion, I thought it's time to reflect on a few things. So I made a list of things about the US that I really can't live without anymore at this point, which I released about 3 weeks ago on the actual anniversary on August 13th. Check it out here if you haven't seen it yet. And I also made a list of things about living here that even after all this time, I just can't get used to. And that's what I'll talk about today. So in a way, this is the more critical, whiny, first world problems complaining counterpart to the other video. Before I start with the list though, a big shout out to italki for sponsoring this video. Those of you who are interested in languages and
getting her money, go on. Go on. You love to see it.
Of things about living in the US that I have a hard time getting used to. Number one is something that's been bothering me literally since day one, and it has to do with showers. I've mentioned this before in my video on
showers? On
housing differences, but in Germany, a shower usually looks like this or this. The shower head usually has a hose attached, and you can either put it into a fixture and just stand underneath, or you can also grab it and move it around.
What is the difference going to be in the US?
So in Germany, we use so-called handheld shower heads usually. In the US, however, the standard that you'll find at most houses, rental places, and hotels is this: a fixed shower head where the pipes are built.
That's not as good. Come on. I mean, I'm sure that's not everywhere though, no? I didn't think there was going to be a difference in this kind of thing.
Into the wall. You can usually move the angle of the shower head a little bit, but that's about it. And my question is, why America? Do you know how hard it is to clean a shower when you can't move the shower head? A shower should be one of the easiest things to clean because it already has a drain and water in it. And yeah, in Germany with a handheld shower head, cleaning a shower is really easy because you can just
move it around the bath and get it. And you can like switch the power as well, so you get it even like, because like there's different power modes, right? Or straight, you can change it so all the water comes out of just a small area, which means it's the water pressure's higher. So you can put it on stuff and you just shoot it off, you know, like a water hose. There's a specific water thing where it's like really strong water and it can like destroy things. I can't remember what it's called, but not that strong, but you know what I'm saying.
Flush things away, but not here. Which is why I've been wondering for 5 years, how do Americans clean their showers? And when you build a place yourself, why do you choose a fixed shower head over a handheld one? I can't think of a single advantage. Handheld shower heads are also amazing for when you want to shower but don't want to get your hair wet, or for when you just want to shave your legs real quick, or when bathing a baby or child. Now, of course, I know that you can buy handheld shower heads in the US, but I personally can't remember seeing one in an actual bathroom throughout the whole time I've been here. The second point I've mentioned
I'm sure there's some places where it's a lot more common, to be fair, but
before in my video about 7 surprising everyday differences, and one of those surprising things for me was that people in the US don't use WhatsApp. I mean, it exists.
I don't use WhatsApp, to be honest. Everyone I know uses it. I don't use it. I just can't be arsed. It's just an extra thing to use where I just don't want to be wasting more time on my phone doing this kind of thing.
Some people use it, but many Americans haven't even heard of it, and unlike in Germany, and frankly most other parts of the world, it's not the default for texting in the US. Instead, text messages are. SMS, which have basically been extinct in Germany for like 5 to 10 years at this point. Now, I'm not sponsored by WhatsApp, and of course there are also other messenger apps like Signal or Threema, but I really do wish that this wasn't the case sometimes, because the features that you get with text messages simply aren't as good as the ones you get on WhatsApp. Now, most Americans have iPhones, so usually texting means using iMessage, which is when the message appears blue instead of green on an iPhone. That means that you basically are using a messenger service in a way, because the message will be sent through the internet and not through regular cellular service, but even that doesn't offer a lot of features. As someone who was used to having all one-on-one and group chats taking place on WhatsApp before I came here, I was really annoyed by how complicated group texts can be here, especially when one or several members of the group chat don't have an iPhone. When I first arrived here, a lot of my fellow students used another app, GroupMe, specifically for group chats because of this. In addition to that, the search function is pretty bad compared to WhatsApp, and so is the overview of photos and other media you've sent, the feature to save messages, and most importantly, voice messages. I know that not everyone uses that feature, but I personally use that a lot, especially with my friends in Germany, kind of instead of calling each other. You can send voice messages with iMessage, but the feature really sucks compared to WhatsApp.
I just use Snapchat or Instagram message. That is literally my ways of communicating, to be honest. I do have WhatsApp, but I don't use it. And I used to use Facebook when I was younger, which is what I would just use as well back in the day, but I deleted that as well. But I know everyone I know uses WhatsApp pretty much, because it's usually for like work group chats or just stuff like that.
You can't move the cursor while listening. When you record, it'll just break off the recording if anything pops up on your phone or your screen goes black. Plus, on WhatsApp, you can now even listen to the voice message at different speeds. Now, before you guys start commenting, I know that WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, and there might be valid concerns about using it, but at the same time, I see Americans posting 100 pictures of their family dinner on social media every weekend without even thinking about privacy at all. So when Americans say that that's why they don't use it, I always find that argument a little weird. And yes, other countries have texting flat rates as well and use WhatsApp anyways. So all in all, even after 5 years of living here and after switching from Android to iPhone, pretty much just to make it easier for myself to text in the US, I still find it hard to get used to using text messages instead of a more convenient messenger service like WhatsApp. Point number 3 is the lack of a deposit system here. To this day, I cringe a little bit every time I throw a can or a bottle away instead of collecting it and returning it to the store. Even if I throw...
The same in the UK as well. I mean, we don't have that, which I think would be good. I guess it's like when you get a little bit of money for doing it. Maybe not money, but it'd be useful anywhere, but we don't have that system in the UK either.
Throw it into a recycling bin, it still kind of feels like a trash can. It also took a while for me to get used to crushing the cans like this, which you should do here because obviously it saves space in the bin, but in Germany that's a big no-go because you need the barcode on the bottle or can to be legible when you return it to get your deposit back. For context, I should explain that in Germany, we have the Pfandsystem, a deposit system on certain glass bottles, plastic bottles, and drink cans, where you get 8 to 25 cents back when you return them to the store. So basically, every German household has some spot where they collect empty bottles and cans. Sometimes it can become a pretty big pile, and then you just take them to the store.
Sounds like you could get some good money. You find 100 cans, you're going to get $25.
Store next time you go get groceries,
Or obviously it's euros, but
and put them in this returning machine, and you'll get money back for it. Some states in the US do have a deposit system too, but the incentive isn't quite as high to actually go and return things. Plus, I believe that in most cases you have to go to a recycling site to return them, rather than just going to any store. Here in Ohio, they don't have a deposit system at all though. The city of Cincinnati at least offers a recycling service, which is good, so everyone has a landfill trash can and a recycling one here that get emptied once a week, and you just put all different kinds of recyclable materials into the recycling can together. Which is also kind of weird for me still, because in Germany, we usually separate our recyclables by material and put it into different bins.
oh, you have multiple bins for recycling.
Or for certain things, we even have to bring it to recycling containers ourselves. So long story short, it's still weird for me to throw a plastic bottle, or even worse, a glass bottle, away instead of rinsing it out and collecting it somewhere. But I did actually kind of get used to crushing cans, because I now sometimes catch myself do it when I'm in Germany out of habit, which sucks because, as I said, you need the barcode to be working in order to get your money back. I know this is a total cliche point, but even after 5 years of living in the US, I still can't really get used to the low quality of bread and dairy products here. I know this might sound a little snobbish, but I just really miss good bread that has an actual crust, and I miss good cheese.
I've seen a video related to that as well. Is it actually that much difference? I feel like just Europe maybe does have better options, but I'm sure you can find better options in the US in certain shops, but it'll cost a lot more and that. But I can't really say I know whether or not, because I just know France, for example, is known for its bread, and just Europe I feel like maybe just has better bread, and you have less options to get the cheaper bread. But I'm not actually too sure. I feel like the UK is probably closer to the US in this one, because I don't know, is the bread being that good? Dairy stuff, maybe it's better here. I don't know. I can't compare it to anything, so I don't know.
Especially mozzarella. I still haven't found good mozzarella here. Even the ones in the deli section for like $10 taste like rubber, whereas real mozzarella is fluffy and airy. Same goes for yogurt and butter. Good butter is hard to find here, and so is good creamy yogurt, and quark doesn't really exist here at all. So yeah, this is a total first world problem.
To be fair, I don't actually have dairy products, so that's why I can't really speak for it. I stopped eating dairy a long time ago. Obviously, I'll have it on cheese on pizza sometimes, but I'm trying to avoid that for reasons that my gut will understand.
I'm aware of that, but this whole video really is. But it's still something that is hard to get used to for me. The next thing on my list of things about the US that I can't get used to, even after 5 years, is people overdoing it with air conditioning. Okay,
I would love that. For some reason, it's been really cold in the UK this year. Really cold. So I wouldn't need it now, but there's going to be a point where it gets hot, and I would love this.
Hardly a lie, because I actually have gotten used to it in a way. When I first came here, I got sick from the AC all the time. And for those of you who think that you can't get sick from AC, I'm going to put a link to a recent podcast episode in the info box below where we talked about that. And I might also link an article down below. But back to the topic.
But you can also get sick from it being too hot. If the AC's too warm, that's going to make you ill too. I always feel worse when I wake up and it's hot. I feel so bad when I wake up and the heating's on. So say it's winter and my girlfriend loves the heating. I'll wake up and I'll feel awful. I'll feel so bad. Like in my throat and just in my head. I don't know what it is. I just feel terrible when it's too hot. As opposed to when it's not too cold, because it's never too cold. But I wake up and it's cold and I'll just snuggle under the blankets. That's part of the fun. When it's cold, you just get the blankets and all that. But I don't know. I can understand, because you do get sick when it's too cold, but I think it works both ways.
I was just not used to it being so cold inside here everywhere that I was sick a lot in the beginning. And mind you, I arrived in the middle of August. So it was really hot in Cincinnati, but I always wore long pants and carried a sweatshirt with me wherever I went, because I knew that anytime I'd be inside somewhere, I would be freezing. And even though I still bring a cardigan with me in the summer, I can definitely tell that my body has gotten used to it a little. I'm just not as sensitive to the cold and the temperature differences anymore. I don't think I've gotten sick from AC in years at this point, which is awesome, but I still don't like it when I basically have to put on winter clothes inside because someone sets the AC to a freezing temperature. I know I also kind of mentioned this in the last video, but why not just set it to a normal room temperature? In the summer,
To be fair, I can't really know because I don't know what it would be like, but I'm just thinking AC, okay, it's just going to be to cool you down a bit. Maybe it is actually very cold, but I don't know.
that'll still be so much colder than the outside anyways. This doesn't only apply to people's homes, by the way, but also to stores and businesses. I'm often inside a store shivering.
Stores are always cold though. Especially like the freezer sections, they are just always cold because it's probably just to keep the food for longer. Stores are always cold, like cooler and stuff.
The summer. Another thing that I have a hard time getting used to in this regard is when people use their central air conditioning all year round, even during fall and spring where the temperature is perfectly nice outside, at least here in Ohio. Just open your windows, people. P.S. This really shows that I'm German because Germans are known for being obsessed with lüften, airing out rooms.
Airing out rooms, of course, but sometimes especially in the summer here, you open the windows and it gets hotter inside. You'll open the window to try and get fresh air and it will make the room that you're in hotter. And it's just like, okay, well, that's great.
I complained about this one in one of my very first videos, but even after 5 years, my opinion on this hasn't changed, and it's about American washers, or to be more precise, top-loading washing machines, which I found to be much more common here than front-loaders. In Germany, it's the other way around. Now, I've never bought my own washer in the US. I've always had one in my rented apartment or a coin-operated shared one in the basement or something like that. So yes, I know that if you buy one yourself, you obviously have the choice. But most households I've been to and all of the rentals I've lived in had a top-loading washing machine, and in my opinion, they're just not nearly as good as the front-loaders
Isn't it just the same thing?
that I know from Germany. It might have to do with the differences in laundry detergents as well, but front loaders, in my experience, just get your clothes so much cleaner. Plus, in Germany, you can choose the actual temperature that your clothes are going to be washed on in degrees, whereas in the US, washers usually just say hot, cold, or warm, and I believe that they just use the hot or cold tap water instead of bringing it to that exact temperature. And the spiral thing in the middle has damaged some of my clothes before too, so when it comes to washers, I'll always prefer the German ones.
Damn.
If a Miele front loader doesn't get it clean, nothing will. Another thing that I still can't get used to in the US is feeling unsafe at times. For one, this has to do with me living in a city rather than a suburb or rural area, and it also has to do with gun violence in this country. I've talked about my views on gun control before, and I'm not going to go into detail about that here, but it was a huge change for me, and frankly still is, that I always have to think about where I can and can't go in a city. Like whether I can go outside after dark, or whether I can safely walk home from a bar, or when I visited Chicago a few weeks ago, for example, where I can and can't go as a tourist. I'm not trying to talk about why these things are different in Germany and the US and what could be done to change the situation, but fact is that in American cities, there's generally a lot more poverty as well as violence and crime than in German cities. For example, United Nations statistics show that the homicide rate for the year 2018 per 100,000 inhabitants was at 4.96 in the US, while it was at 0.95 in Germany. So in the US,
This year, it feels like it's got even crazier as well. I don't know what the rates are. Maybe it's just been reported more, but I just see every day. Every day there's a shooting or like, it's just like, what the hell? I know. Obviously, the US is so big. I mean, in population, it's like 5.5 times bigger than the UK, 6 times bigger than England in terms of population. But it's just like, it blows my mind because it's so often that like there's shootings and stuff. It's crazy. I mean, I can't imagine how, like, living in the US, right? You say you live in this Cincinnati or wherever. If it will happen often in your city or if it just happens all around. I don't know the sort of statistics. She's saying statistics, but how you feel, like people in general. Like, do you feel unsafe? Obviously, some people will live in good places and stuff, but say you're just someone who's from just the most average of places, like, I don't know. You're just from somewhere where safety, I don't know how to explain it. You're just from like I don't know how, not a high income family, no. Not a low income family. I'm working class family, there you go, working class. So you don't live in the best of places, but maybe you live in an okay place. I don't know, whatever. Do you feel unsafe? Is like there actual worries of that? I feel like maybe Europeans or people of other cultures or from other countries, maybe will feel more unsafe. I don't know. Maybe feel more safe. I don't know. But you see it every day, and it is so scary.
It's almost 5.
Especially this year. This is from like a year and a half ago, 2 years. I mean, it says a year ago, but probably longer. What I'm seeing recently is crazy. It's every day. I've said it 10 times now, but it's crazy to me.
Times as high as in Germany. Now, Cincinnati surely isn't Chicago or Detroit or New York City, but in some years it has been listed among the top 20 most violent cities in the US, with the current homicide rate being at about 19 per 100,000 people, so more than 3 times the national average. Which doesn't mean that crime is something I personally see in everyday life here, but before I came to the US, I never had to take shelter because there was an active shooter around, for example. And this happened several times while I went to college here, that there was an active shooter alarm.
Oh, so it is. This is sort of what I'm trying to get to understand. Is this a common thing for just people to get? You get alerts on your phone for it. Oh my god, this is like a different world for me. I can't even begin to understand.
I went out to all students, and one time I was actually on campus during that time and locked myself up in a classroom together with a fellow student. Unlike him, I had never had any kind of training for a situation like that. Luckily, he did, because American students usually get prepared for these scenarios in school. I also have a lot of friends who have been attacked or robbed while walking on the streets at night here. And just a few weeks ago, I was out on a walk at like 10 p.m., which is like the only time it doesn't feel like a sauna outside in the summer. And I wasn't in a particularly dangerous area, but the next day, I found out that there was an armed robbery on the very street I was on at around the same time I was there too. I must have just missed it, but I found out the next day that the girl's phone and car keys were stolen, and then they took her car. Long story short, what I'm trying to say is that it's hard for me to get used to the fact that I can't just go outside at 10 p.m. without having concerns. Just to put this into perspective, I bought pepper spray just a few weeks after I first came to the US. I never had that before, and during my 3 weeks home in Munich just now, I went on several walks, even later at night, and I didn't even bring my pepper spray to Germany. I also took my bike through the woods at night like I used to growing up. I used to always take the subway home late at night all by myself too, and never had to worry. So even...
I feel like you should always be diligent about that anyway. Anywhere. Obviously some places will be a lot worse, but you've got to be diligent about that anyway. But...
after 5 years of living here, it's hard,
especially going through like a woods. I wouldn't like to do that. Just for the idea of going through the woods in the dark. No, thank you. I am good.
For me to get used to the idea that I'm limited in my freedom in a way. This one probably makes me sound like a broken record because I've talked about this in several videos already, and even in my recent one about 10 things I had never done before coming to the US. But if this doesn't belong on a list of things that I can't get used to, I don't know what does. The American banking system. I'll keep it short this time.
What's the difference?
But I just can't get used to the fact that bank transfers aren't really a thing here, but instead you have to use a third-party service to transfer money from your bank account to another one.
What?
Like when you're paying for rent or just paying a friend. In Germany, for paying utilities, or as I said, paying a friend or rent, or really any other kind of service, any kind of bills, we just send money from bank to bank. Well, here, that's not very common and sometimes doesn't even really work. As I said, you'll usually have to go through another service like Zelle, for example, to do that, and I even had to get approval from my bank first before I could transfer any money. Americans, therefore, often just use services like Venmo or PayPal to make payments, which means that you have to connect your bank account to an additional...
Really? I mean, I have a PayPal account, but I've never had to use it to pay bills. That's so weird. Why do they make it harder? Is it just a money-making method for the companies or for the banks? I guess they get more money just somehow from it.
Service and cover potential fees. Many Americans also choose to do this because they think that bank transfers and giving out your account number isn't safe. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's a pretty common concern here. On top of that, people still use checks in the US, which seems...
Really? I've not used a check for ages. The only time I used to get checks was when... for birthday or Christmas, I'd get it from my grandparents. They'd give me like a £30 on a check. But I've not seen a check for years, man.
Pretty archaic from a German perspective. I have several friends who go to the ATM regularly to deposit a physical paycheck. Why do people have to waste their time with that in the 21st century? That hasn't been a thing in Germany my whole life. The next point on my list is how normal it is in the US not to believe in facts. I know this might be a little controversial for some people, and this might be more of a recent development in the US, but ever since I first came here, I've been very surprised how, wherever you go, people sometimes say things like, I don't believe in climate change, or I don't believe in the gender pay gap, I don't believe in evolution, or of course, most recently, I don't believe in COVID. You'll hear that even from very educated people sometimes, and what's so weird about that to me is that in the society I'm from, facts are not a matter of belief. Religion sure is, but hard scientific facts are not. You don't get the privilege to just not believe in a fact just because it's uncomfortable. Science isn't about believing, it's about forming our opinions and strategies based on a rational analysis of the information and evidence we have at the time. Science never claims to be 100% right. Of course, the current state of research on evolution can't explain every last thing yet. Of course, scientists change their statements about COVID over time. That's how it works. But it's still the most rational way of creating knowledge. You base it on all the evidence and facts that you have, and when new ones come out, you integrate those and adapt the state of research and potentially also your course of action based on that. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to be on the same page as me, but overall, I would say that this pretty much reflects the standard view in German society, and growing up there, I've never experienced it as a normal thing for people to just not believe in certain things. That's something that I still find hard to get used to in the US.
To be fair, I've not really got anything to compare that to because I don't really know the same in the UK. It's probably an in between the both. I don't know. Because the UK, I don't feel like is as religious. Like certain parts of the US are like a lot more religious or a lot more, I don't know. Just, I feel like, I don't know. Obviously, things like the COVID stuff or not believing in climate change, there's going to be people like that everywhere. That's just how it is. There's people like that everywhere in the world. Some people believe in that sort of stuff, some people don't. The climate change ones always confused me because I didn't even know it was a political thing until recently. I didn't know that at all, so I just assumed, okay, this is just this and that. But yeah, when I found out recently that a lot of people don't even think it's real or like it was a political thing, that blew my mind. But in terms of the other ones, like I went to Romania recently, and it's a very, well, I say my girlfriend's dad is very religious. And he has certain beliefs that you can sort of tell stem from a certain thing. And it's fascinating, to be honest, because I've never really had a life like that where I've been, because my family is not religious. I've not grown up with that. So it's an interesting contrast to see someone who's the complete opposite end and has different opinions based off certain things and their ways of life and how they've grown up. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's just the US. You've got different parts of the world. Some parts believe in certain things or don't and that. But yeah, I've always thought Germany is one of the countries that is like quite ahead in terms of certain things. Just in general, in the world, I think it is one of the better countries for like just loads of different things like that. But
the next point is expensive groceries and cosmetics. Now, this is a pretty specific Germany versus USA thing because groceries are exceptionally cheap in Germany compared to other European countries, but the US really is extremely expensive in this sense. As a German, it's hard to wrap my head around the fact that as a low-income person in the US, it often makes more sense financially to get fast food and takeout rather than buying groceries at the store. A normal trip to the grocery store with like half a cart full of things for the next week or two easily costs me like $90 to $100 at a store like Kroger or Walmart, which is where the average American goes to get their groceries. Fortunately though, the German discounter supermarkets Aldi and Lidl have locations in the US too, which is why I personally get most of my groceries at Aldi, where I pay about $60 for the same things. I only go to Kroger for certain items that they don't sell at Aldi, but every time I go to the store and see a small bag of almonds sold for $10 or a small box of strawberries for $5, I'm like, damn, I'll never get used to that. The same goes for cosmetics like face wash, makeup remover, or face lotion, for example. I've told you guys this before, but I actually still use products from the German drugstore DM for that, because even though I really tried to find good makeup remover and face lotion in the US, I failed. They were all like $7 per bottle, and none of them were as good as the products from DM for like €1. And I know that many other German expats, even in other countries, have the same experience here. Another one about houses is that even in modern houses, it's pretty common in the US to have 2 handles for hot and cold water.
That's good, no? No, it's not good. Because if you just have one where you can just make it hot or turn it and it's colder, that is a lot easier.
At the sink, rather than having a mixer tap like you'll
But I thought the mixer taps are what's in the US. Like in the UK, you have the two taps where you twist it. You don't even have it like this. You just twist it to turn on. Not where I live, and I think it's changed recently. But I thought this was a US thing.
Find it at most
This one
modern
here.
German homes. I don't quite understand why the mixer taps aren't more common here because they're just so much more practical. I noticed this one especially whenever I come back from a trip to Germany, but I'm always kind of aware of it in the back of my mind. There is a huge amount of trash and plastic in this country. People here get takeout all the time, and every meal leaves a huge pile of packaging waste behind. Many people use disposable dishes, even at home, because they don't want to clean their actual dishes. And
Is that true? Is that true or is that not? Using disposable dishes to eat normal general foods, that's kind of, I'm sure that's not the case. There's no way people use disposable dishes instead of just using an actual plate. Other than when you have like parties and stuff, that's a bit different. I can understand that because it's just easier in general. But there's no way there's people out there that use disposable dishes instead just so it's easier to not have to wash and stuff. Maybe there are. That is something I've never considered. That is a weird concept to me.
Bring their own shopping bags to the store, but instead get piles of plastic bags every time they get groceries, at least here in the Midwest. Coming from Germany, where way more people try to at least avoid waste when it's not necessary, and where you have to pay for plastic bags at the store, and where plastic straws and other single-use plastic products have been banned now, it's just hard to get used.
Haven't plastic straws been banned everywhere now? For McDonald's they have. You can't get them at McDonald's anymore, but maybe in general you can still get plastic straws. Does she mean plastic straws in general? You can't use them. Maybe that's what she means. That's interesting. I didn't know that was that extreme in some places, but I can understand it, but I just didn't know that.
Used to that sometimes, especially knowing that most of this trash is totally avoidable. And last but not least, even after 5 years, I still find it weird how big of a deal alcohol is here. I mean, I'm from a country where alcohol is part of our culture, where you
Is it really that big of a deal? I feel like maybe it's just the fact that it's a later age. But is it a taboo thing in the US? Alcohol? I'm sure it's not a taboo thing. No? I mean, maybe, I don't know how that would be the case, because in the US I feel like there is just as big as a drinking culture. You just have to start later. But maybe not. Maybe there is a sort of opinion on it, but I don't know.
Legally drink beer and wine at 16 and hard liquor at 18, while here in the US...
That's kind of wild as well, though. It's kind of crazy. 16 you can start drinking. Fair enough. I mean, I did start drinking before that. Not properly, but just trying it and having a bit of fun when I was young. Like 15. Which is stupid. Very stupid, but kids will be kids, right? And that's also a common thing in the UK. People just drink a lot younger. Even though it is 18 that you can start. No, here it's 18. Yeah, it's 18.
Not only can people not drink legally until they're 21, but there's also such things as dry counties, for example, where you can't buy alcohol anywhere. Or so-called moist counties, where you can get alcohol only at certain places or for certain...
What? Oh, wow. I didn't know it was like that. Texas as a whole is pretty much like that. Just county to county, it's different.
Occasions. And it's also still weird to me how stores need a liquor license to sell alcohol, and you often have to go to a separate liquor store to get it, even just beer sometimes.
What? So, I've heard the term liquor store, but can you not buy alcohol from just a general convenience store, or from a Walmart, or from a shop like that? I'm sure you can, right? You're able, or maybe they've got separate liquor stores inside. Because, the term liquor store, you don't have liquor stores in the UK. I mean, you do, but you do generally just buy them. Go to a shop and the alcohol will be behind the counter. The strong, spirits and stuff, and then the beers and stuff will just be beside it in just a normal shop. And that's probably a problem in its own way. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say alcohol is the best thing in the world because it's not, but it can be fun if you don't drink it all the time.
And it's also still weird to me and a little sad that drinking in public is illegal.
When it says in public, does it mean you can't drink it in the park? Like, say it's a hot day, you just have a couple beers in the park with your friends. Can you not do that?
That means no beer by the river after you get off work,
Oh.
no drink while walking to a party, no playing beer pong at the park, and there's not a lot of curbside dining because of that either, because restaurants have to have a designated area if they want to do that. And even after 5 years, I still sometimes forget about this and accidentally have a drink in my hand outside, or I walk into a store looking for the alcohol section and then realize, oh,
They don't have them.
they don't sell that here. And that was
Oh.
the last point on my list of 13 things that, even after 5 years in the US, I can't really get.
I didn't know that. I knew liquor stores were a thing, but I didn't know it was because they didn't sell them in just general sort of convenience stores and stuff. I mean, again, maybe they... Let me just see. Convenience stores in the US. Grocery stores. In general, beer, wine, and liquor can be purchased. Oh, it can be. I don't know then. I don't really know what to say because this all seems like they do. But in the UK, typically the alcohol's in smaller shops, not like big stores, but in smaller stores, they'll usually be where you buy the stuff. So it'll be like there, you'll have to pay here, and then the alcohol would be behind the till. Again, like the hard liquor, with the cigarettes as well and stuff like that. But then like the beers will just be like the cider and all that stuff, or wine will be just sort of to the side. So to get to pay, you'd sort of have to go through to alcohol, which probably isn't the best thing either. But I don't know, maybe that's just how it is. But yeah, this was that. An interesting look into different things. Some are opinions that people are probably going to hate, but that's part of it, right? She's just giving an opinion. And yeah, and I think obviously she's comparing it to Germany. I think Germany, again, compared to the UK, is just a lot better in so many ways as well. I just see Germany just like that. It just seems like they're just a lot more advanced in just ways that a lot of other places aren't like that. But I don't know. I've never actually been to Germany, so I can't speak for it. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. And yeah, if you want more reactions like this, let me know in the comments. And until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.